this whole sustainability conversation, Gary, that we hear about, and it's very valid, and we in Duns are practicing it and looking to get better at it. And obviously it relates to materials and fabrics and packaging. All these things I feel like they're almost the end product in terms of the sustainable conversation. I think the true sustainability, or not true sustainability, but an overlooked element is meaning and the words and language and copy that you use, and the position of your brand in the market. If there has to be, for me, meaning is the only thing that really will, not the only thing, but meaning will sustain as well. If you have a meaningful basis for a brand where you're saying something, uncovering something, discovering something, teaching something, remembering something, I think that's sustainable. I think that's a form of sustainability. And even if the garment will never die, even if there's poly, even if there's poly cotton, even if there's the polyelastane, even if it has a long lifespan, if it's saying something important or saying something that remembers somebody who's been forgotten, or an incident or a book or a piece of art or an event that's been forgotten and we're remembering it, I'm happy for that garment to live forever. I want that garment to live forever. And I think that's something brands could look at. What are we trying to say for a start? Before we look at our fabrications, our supply chain, our packaging, our parceling, our waste, our resources, are we saying something that means something, that needs to be said, that needs to be remembered? I think that's a form of sustainability too.
That's a beautiful way to look at things. I think even the story you told me about the Olympic medal, that's going to stay with me. That's just in my head now. That's all I'm thinking about as we're talking. That's going round and round in my head. Yeah, I think that's...
There's lessons like that. And the one thing I really enjoy about this business with Duns through Go There is that there's loads of that. In every season, there's discovery and education.
It's rare though. It's very rare.
Yeah.
It's very rare. I think a lot of brands have lost touch of that. They've lost touch of how they started. Maybe they started with a founder like yourself, and they've just exploded to, global operation with 10, 20,000 employees, and they've lost that meaning of what they're actually trying to do. Yeah. And,
I consider myself very, very lucky to be able to do this as I do with Duns. They allow me to do it this way, I'm in a very fortunate position that I have their supply chain, their supply base, their retail footprint, their teams in-house, all the expertise that they have to allow me to actually say the things that I want to say and write these stories, I think is a privilege, And I've seen over the last couple of months, again, I've seen the kind of the resilience of Duns from the point of view of how it provides for people, and how it kind of, Duns have really, embraced this lockdown period. Of course, they were so busy on the grocery side, I'm sure, but they've also showed a compassion and a kind of a strength that not too many businesses can do,
No, well, that crisis brings out the best of the worst. It brings out what a company is truly about. I think it brings out the real side of a company. It magnifies what you are. Yeah, for sure. And I've seen it at close quarters over the years, and especially in these last few months with through Duns, And I think there's an opportunity actually for these big retailers to look at media. If you look at the media landscape at the moment and where we go for news and how fragmented our news sources become and how hard it is to believe what we're hearing anymore. It's hard to know what's true and what's not. And I think the retailers, especially grocery retailers, have now kind of moved to a place in this people's psyche of becoming a real source of trust and truth, and kind of, be you a barista or a baker or a butcher or a grocer, people have kind of looked to you and for you and have depended upon you these last few weeks and months, and you kind of feel like you're going to the grocer for your news almost, and that source of trust and dependability, And I think it's an interesting time for grocers in terms of what they might start to do in terms of newsletters, information, education, news, as becoming a source of more than just grocery, and maybe other things, I don't know. That's a really interesting perspective.